Today's guest is Maxwell Keeler of EMI out of Pennsylvania.
EMI started in 1989 as kind of a startup, but in the last 10 to 15 years, I would say, our tube plasma equipment has become our core business. So our current machinery, our tube cutting equipment, goes a lot into the miscellaneous metals industry, stair and handrail, but we also see it go into agricultural or OEMs that are manufacturing different standardized products as well. We have a lot of customers that are coming from saws and angle workers, kind of more manual layout where they're still using soapstone and tape measures to lay out the pieces of material. Wow. We do see it as a lead-in into more automation, and there's some times where it's like they don't have any automation and the owner's son is the lead-in.
Right.
Like, Dad, we gotta get something.
Right.
Like, we're in the Stone Age.
This episode of the Fabricator Podcast is sponsored by Landtech Systems, the global leader in software solutions for the sheet metal industry. With over 36,000 customers in more than 100 countries, Landtech connects manufacturers with cutting-edge CAD/CAM, MES, and ERP technologies that help companies drive efficiency and innovation. By transforming factories into smart factories, Landtech empowers companies to streamline production, reduce costs, and embrace the future of manufacturing. Learn more at landtech.com.
Welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. I'm Dan Davis from the Fabricator magazine.
With Lincoln Bruner from the Tube and Pipe Journal and the Fabricator.
And today's conversation here at FabTech 2025 in Chicago, we're gonna chat with Maxwell Keeler of EMI, a business that produces plasma cutting tube cutting equipment. Is that fair to say? But it also does channels and other shapes.
Yeah, and it presents an automation solution that a lot of times is the customer's first foray into automation, period. Which is pretty cool because it's nice to talk to somebody that's catering directly to a corner of the fabrication sector that's often viewed and gets a bad rap as sort of a tired corner, but by no means, because there's innovation happening all the time with machinery, especially in the area of cutting. So it was a fun conversation to kind of get the lowdown on what customers are asking for and what they're doing.
Yeah, and this is a sponsored episode by Landtech. They're a partner of EMI. You'll also notice in this episode we'll have some parts delivered
by our intrepid producer.
Yes. We get DoorDash handles metal fabricating parts nowadays. Who would have thought?
They were brought in with like a little DoorDash bag. So.
Yeah, that's right.
So we began the recording of the episode before the parts are here, but nonetheless, you get the visual aid all good podcast audiences deserve.
That's right.
There's also a great part where Dan, you asked Maxwell a question that kind of threw him off about dreaming about pipe because it just came out of nowhere.
No, well, they say like to be able to design in 3D, you've got to be able to like think like it. So I often people that spend their life working with tube, I wonder how they, what's the old saying,
I don't think you've ever asked anybody about a pipe dream before.
Yeah, there you go on that. Womp womp.
Nice.
All right. All right, you'll enjoy the conversation better than that joke, I promise.
Yeah. Anupam will appreciate it.
There you go. And thank you to Landtech for sponsoring this. Let's get to the conversation.
Looking to take your leadership skills to the next level? Join Manufacturing Leaders February 24th to the 26th in Clearwater Beach, Florida for the FMA annual meeting. At this premier event, you'll connect with top leaders from the fabrication and metals industries to share ideas, collaborate on business challenges, and build strategic relationships. Start 2026 on the right path. Find details and register at fmamfg.org. And now, back to the episode.
Welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. This is our last broadcast from FabTech 2025 here in Chicago. Today's guest is Maxwell Keeler of EMI out of Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us today, Maxwell.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We also like to thank the sponsor of this episode, Landtech. Obviously, EMI is also a customer of Landtech. We'll get into that in a little bit. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about EMI?
Yeah. So worked for EMI for like 13 years now. EMI started in 1989 as kind of a startup. Our owner actually did a machine like we produce now as his college project for his senior year. And it became kind of a product out of that. The company had some other product lines. We used to do some repairs on Bridgeport CNC equipment and different things like that. But in the last 10 to 15 years, I would say our tube plasma equipment has become our core business related to what EMI does as a company. So, but we're based in Green Lane, Pennsylvania. And we manufacture and produce that equipment, design, engineer, and build that all there in Green Lane.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
How many different models do you offer?
so we have 4 main models. One of our original lower cost machines has kind of become less popular because we came out with a newer model that handles more material profiles. So a lot of customers, when they're investing in the machinery, they see the value in all the other profiles that can be processed on our newer model. So one of our models is becoming less prominent in the market. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I just ask about the senior college project?
yeah.
So was the owner involved in like I'm trying to think like go-karts or something like that, or like
I'm trying to think related to what spawned the project, and I know the company Bridgeport CNC, who we used to do replacement parts for and things like that. He actually worked with some of the engineers there. They helped provide like a control system and different components to fund his project, kind of as like an internship. But he had a functioning machine that could cope tubing
oh, no kidding.
for his senior project.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's not the kind of senior project you hear of most of the time.
No, typically not.
Building a whole machine. Tell me a little bit about the plasma technology y'all are employing, because I'm very interested in how that's evolved over the years.
Yeah.
What kind of accuracy and just minute detail are you able to handle now, as opposed to, say, even when you started?
Yeah. So when he first started the company, the machine he developed for his senior project, it was primarily focused on round material only,
Sure.
which is what customers have probably the largest difficulty coping. Traditional machinery like a saw or different tools like that, it's very difficult to cope fish mouths or copes that fit up to against each other on round material.
Right.
So that was primarily a manual process that would have to be done, with a grinder or laid out with some kind of paper template.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a ton of people in the industry at that time, which probably was one of our areas of struggle, getting that technology adopted when he first did his senior project. Whereas now it's very prevalent, and there's other companies doing very similar things. So that machinery only did round at the time. And then as we started to evolve our product line and see the ability for it to handle multiple shapes. So our current machinery, our tube cutting equipment, goes a lot into the miscellaneous metals industry, stair and handrail. But we also see it go into agricultural or OEMs that are manufacturing different standardized products as well.
Yeah, you were telling me before we went on the air that a lot of the companies who are investing in your technology, this is their first go-around with automation. Maybe tell us a little bit more about that and what you're able to do for them.
A lot of our customers, they might have, not necessarily automation, but they might have a saw they're currently doing it on, or iron workers for notching and different things like that. But
Sure.
we have a lot of customers where, they're determining whether they should get a flat plasma table, a low-cost flat plasma table, or whether they should get one of our machines. And depending on the amount of handrail and tube-oriented products that they manufacture, it's a hard decision for them sometimes. So we've had a lot of customers where it's the first piece of automation they've ever bought, and they're only a 2 or 3 or 5-man company.
Sure.
And it allowed them to triple or quadruple their production
Wow.
almost overnight.
Wow.
Usually by the end of our first training, they're cutting production parts and have stacks of parts to weld handrail And usually welding shortages are their next problem
Sure.
related
Sure.
to producing finished product.
Yeah,
So,
pushing a lot of product downstream.
yeah.
That can be an issue. So, from your company's standpoint, is it pretty much a standard product line? Do they build to inventory, or do you build to per order?
Yeah, so when we first started, I would say the first 10 to 15 years of the company, when we started doing tube machines, the volumes that we built was much lower, mainly because we used to cater a little more to the customer and kind of like, what do you want? What kind of custom functions do you think you want? And over the years, we found that just drastically inflated the overall price of the machinery
Sure.
and
of
also
course.
the quality of the finished machine.
Huh.
Mhm.
So just because when you have a standard machine that you know exactly what it's capable of, because it's a standard product that you've sold multiple times, it gives you that knowledge base to sell it to another customer and expect those same results.
Absolutely.
So we've kind of standardized our product line in the last 10 years where these are our offerings, and we don't do too much custom engineering outside of those offerings.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow. Are there opportunities for custom type work?
related to the products you can cut, there's a lot of variety, and we'll do custom programming if there's like, we have customers with case scenarios where we need to do custom programming to get it to do exactly what they want for some of the components they're cutting. So we help customers potentially with design advice or even remote programming, depending on the software options they decided to get with the machine.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
So these are some examples of parts that come off those machines.
correct.
Seem like multi-process.
Yeah.
type-
So the that's a sample there. It has some rivet nuts put into it. The machine does not put rivet nuts in, but we are just showing the functionality of you can cut a hole
Precise holes.
precise enough to directly take it off and then apply
Gotcha.
a rivet nut. But you can see that component does have some marking on it, which was done directly in the machine.
Okay.
Very
Wow.
good. And so you got, not only do you have the coping on here, but you've got a lot of tabs.
Tab and slot construction or
Yeah.
different things like that.
Yeah. So, your machines are able to create a lot of not fixtures, but I mean,
Intricate features.
yes,
Yeah.
Let's put it like that. That's good. I was wondering what kind of features over the years have customers come to request and demand that perhaps you weren't doing before, such as this.
Yeah, so obviously I was explaining we started out in the round area previous to getting into multi-shape materials. So when we were just doing round, we would put basic fish mouths and holes. You can see this component, we have multi-joints where it might fit into the corner of another component.
Right.
But standard fish mouths and things like that. Once we got into other material profiles, the ceiling starts to get a lot higher as far as what the capabilities are of the machine, as well as the complexity of some of the features that customers want.
Yeah.
So related to programming a lot of these features, we have a couple different options for our customers. One thing we run into is some customers have 3D data, like 3D modeling that they're designing their products.
SolidWorks or whatever.
SolidWorks, or some of the structural packages like Tekla or Advanced Steel are some of the ones that they use for designing handrail or constructing entire buildings. Allows them to manage the project with a lot of precision related to phase releases and all that. So those are some of the big packages that customers use to get files into our machine and that 3D geometry that they use.
Those step files are imported directly.
Step files or NC1 or DSTV files that they directly import from those softwares.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, we have a couple customers or quite a few customers, it's their first piece of automation, and they're not even at that level where they're working with huge detailers. It might be they go out to the job site and are measuring for a handrail. They're making just a napkin sketch drawing.
Sure.
And then they're going back to the shop, and somehow they have to get that information into the machine. So we have a proprietary software that we use with our machinery developed internally called Peacemaker that a lot of customers use for our more simple components that are just, miters or fish mouths with a couple features or holes. And it allows customers a lower cost option to get into automation and program those features, especially if they don't have detailing capabilities.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So
what might they use for the more complex machines?
So for the more complex programming, or when they want the ability to import some kind of 3D model, so you can see that piece there where they had that tab and slot construction or interacting features that are more complex. We partnered with Landtech probably 5 or 6 years ago now.
Okay.
And the main lead into that, because we had another CAM software we used a little bit before we started working directly with Landtech that we used to import step files. But another piece of machinery that is in our product lineup is what's called our ACPC machine. It stands for Angle Channel Processing Center.
Okay.
And has the capability, kind of like the name depicts, to do open profiles. So it handles C channels, angle irons, and flat bars.
Oh, wow.
But it allows the size of material compared to our other machines quite a bit larger capacity. So kind of sell that as what we call a stair stringer machine.
Yeah.
A lot of customers who are cutting stairs, the main members that support the stairs or the treads that you walk on are all made out of C channel.
Yeah.
So that allows you to lay those out and cut bolt holes or layout marks for all that to be welded and constructed in a much simpler fashion.
Right. And we were talking before as well about how a lot of the customers have found the ability to streamline production, as you said, triple, quadruple production time, or efficiency rather. I think one of the things I'm always curious about is all the shops I talk to is like the tolerances they've really tightened up. The customer demands for fit ups on welding, especially. Tell us a little bit about how some of these features on the machinery are able to kind of accommodate customer demand for higher precision on their fit ups.
Yeah. So we have a lot of customers that are coming from saws and angle workers, kind of more manual layout where they're still using soapstone and tape measures to lay out the pieces of material. Wow. So yeah, here at FabTech, you have lots of sheet metal fabrication for precision sheet metal manufacturing, as well as structural steel. And there's definitely a vast technology gap there where you have traditional fabrication for buildings and things like that. Miscellaneous steel is much more lagging behind in some of that technological advancement. And I would say we find a lot of customers start, if they are a very large structural place, will start by automating their very large components. Maybe it's big beams or things that are very difficult to maneuver by hand.
Long
they
channels
have to use cranes and different things. So they're automating those larger things. And they might not come back around later and be like, well, we have all this work we're putting into our smaller miscellaneous that we haven't automated in years. So they kind of are seeing the benefits in automating those. But related to some of the precision features, like I was saying, laying out with soapstone and tape measure, which seems really antiquated, but every fabrication shop we go into, that is happening at one level or another.
Right.
So it definitely increases their precision related to the consistency of features and holes getting put in within, you know, our usual feature tolerance is about plus or minus a 64th on a feature, and then locationally a 30-second usually, plus or minus 30-second.
Very cool.
So let's flip that kind of scenario. Once a shop gets into one of these machines, what are the odds of them kind of adding more capability?
Yeah, so we do see it as a lead-in into more automation, and there's sometimes where it's like they don't have any automation and the owner's son is the lead-in. Like, Dad, we gotta get something.
Right.
Like, we're in the Stone Age. And
don't call me bro, I'm your dad.
Yeah. And the dad is really resistant to the cost of leading into that automation. So, but once he sees how much more efficient it made the company, and also just, the level of skill and craftsmanship from 30 years ago or 50 years ago.
Sure.
You know, all the baby boomers are getting out of the industry and retiring.
Every
so
day.
you have a large skills gap in the ability to do manual layout or the ability to know the mathematics to get the copes to come out correctly. So the software and automation definitely helps the newer generation connect with producing more, faster, easier, and at a lower cost than what they previously were doing.
Right. And one of the other things I'm thinking, a lot of tube and pipe fabricators, they're looking into lasers. They're looking into, more precision plasma cutting. What are some of the things among your customers? You talking to customers all the time.
Yeah.
What are some of the, I guess, let's just say it, main gripes? What are some of the things they feel like are just really holding them back? Not maybe in terms of capital equipment, but just like as a business, what are some things that are holding them up?
Sometimes it is detailing or 3D modeling that can be a bottleneck for some of our customers.
Yeah.
Can be a large gap. So a huge percentage of our customer base, their products are designed or detailed externally. Sometimes that's overseas detailing. Sometimes it's detailers in the States. But I would say there's a percentage of companies, especially small ones, where they don't detail or design the product internally.
Okay.
And there's multiple levels to the detailing or the design of the building. So like the building gets designed in one software, the architect does, then it gets sent off to the civil engineer who makes sure that the building's going to stay
Erect.
upright
Yeah.
and not
Right.
fall over.
Right.
And then it goes to the detailer, and he determines what members of material are going to get put into the building
Right.
and kind of determines what the stairs are going to look like and different aspects, the fire escapes and all that.
Sure.
That's all determined by the detailer. And then that gets, subbed out to miscellaneous metal shops, or sometimes it's a larger fab shop and they'll sub it to another company.
Mm-hmm.
So the detailing of the buildings can sometimes be a bottleneck for customers where they don't have direct control over it, and there's certain features or functions that they're detailing either isn't putting into those 3D models.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that can be a struggle for some customers.
Yeah.
Do shops that you sell to see the equipment as an ability to meet the details of the detailer, or will they buy it in hopes of kind of pushing
I
that
would
information
say
upwards?
most of the features are well within the capability of the machine. It's more the opposite way. They see, obviously, we put together, as elegant of demo parts as we can with advanced features, things that make them dream for the future.
Yeah.
Can do a Vanna White.
Yeah. So some of those features, for the standard handrail, you might see pickets that are in the handrail. One of the functions that a lot of customers sometimes try to achieve is normally in a shop, they're manually placing those pickets and they're spacing them out one by one. A lot of times they'll have like a little piece of metal they're using to space it. But if the piece of metal is a little bit off, by the time you get to the end of the row of pickets, the spacing's not right. So one of the things some customers do is they'll cut those picket holes in and then slip the pickets in position.
Which would seem a bit smarter, yeah.
They're all placed perfectly even. So getting detailers, whether internal or external detailed, to do those extra features and put that into the modeling can be difficult depending if you have direct control or not.
Do fabricators challenge you on a regular basis? Like, hey, can your machine help us do this? And
I would say sometimes. We definitely see, especially when we come to FabTech, a large variety of customers that are trying to fit other areas than just miscellaneous metals. So there's some other shows we go to that are more catered directly to miscellaneous metals and structural steel, but we see a wider array of customer base at FabTech for sure, where they're an OEM building some kind of finished product or different things like that.
So can open the door for those shops to maybe diversify a little bit, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure.
What type of ODs are we talking about?
So our tube machines, and just to differentiate a little bit, our tube machines rotate the material 360 degrees, and that allows us to cut like all the way around a piece of rectangular tubing like
wow,
this.
okay.
So it would, light the torch, rotate all the way around, and then finish the cut, and that piece would be disconnected. And then rotate to another side, cut some features. So our tube machines top out at 6x6 square and down.
Okay.
And they go a little bit bigger on round. They can do 6-inch pipe, which would be like 6 5/8 OD. So within that envelope, customers are able to process almost all the structural shapes.
Yeah.
So like square, rectangular, angle iron, even leg and off leg angle irons, and then as well as C-channel. So it's kind of like a miscellaneous materials multi-tool, anything you can kind of dream up, you can cut out on it, depending on what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Speaking of that, a lot of the shops we talk to, the world has become, low volume, high mix environment, right?
Yep.
How have they found your machinery to be a help in helping to process that kind of product mix through efficiently?
Yeah. So that's one thing we definitely see when we first bring this piece of machinery into a new customer, where a lot of components they're cutting, if you're cutting this on the saw or the iron worker, if you have to cut 20 of them, even if you're not going to use them for another week or two, you're going to put the saw on that angle and you're going to cut all the pieces at that angle and put them in a bucket or something until you have to do the next process. So since this is processing it all out of one stick and has the ability to cut any feature, any angle, all fluidly, it doesn't really take any longer whether every piece on the stick is different or whether every piece is the same.
Right.
So a lot of customers completely change their thought process related to workflow of the material when they change over to our equipment.
And what they're able to do in a given shift, right?
In a given shift, for sure.
Well, I would imagine that they're able to reimagine what they can take on then, right?
Yeah.
The kind of jobs they can quote, because now it's not going to take forever to grind out that batch of this or that, right?
And it definitely lets them determine, how much profit they're able to make compared to their competition, down the street that's not using this technology.
Right.
So,
You dream about tube?
Don't all of us?
Probably more years ago. I have 3 kids to keep up with now.
You got something else on your mind.
Yes.
Yeah, I say that in jest, but I think the world, it's always interesting to see 2D shops go into 3D.
Yeah,
It's a learning curve.
It definitely changes, especially customers that are trying to cut costs. Like we have a lot of customers where, maybe they have a plasma table or a laser cutter and a press brake. They're able to, laser cut it or plasma cut it, press break it into a similar shape or a similar format.
Yeah.
And
this is a great example, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd assume you just put it on a press brake, but if you can cut it like this.
If you can cut it like that, it saves a whole operation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you get a stronger product with, the radius in there and different things like that.
Right.
So do y'all keep an eye on laser technology at all? Not that you're incorporating it, but it just seems like it's kind of making inroads into industries in which it wasn't there before.
Correct. And the cost of lasers has continued to come down. So it's something we're entertaining, looking as more and more laser cutters are coming lower and lower price, and customers are demanding more quality, less cleanup, all those factors.
So you're an interesting point, because how long have you worked for the company?
Like 13 years.
So you've seen a lot of change in 13 years.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
It's, obviously, the rate of change advances as technology increases. Do you, what do you see like in 5 years from now?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Things are getting faster and faster with AI and all the things coming out. But I mean, I would say our largest bottlenecks for our customers is probably getting qualified labor as more of the older generation retires. So driving more of the mathematical things that they did manually from the software completely through, whether that's laying out the components that are being welded or cutting them through importing into CAM software, essentially removing the aspect of mistakes that can happen as much as possible.
Right. I mean, this and the technology coming out now is more and more being built to be very operator user friendly, right?
Correct.
Very
So-
accessible, as we say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, customers coming from hand coping this, they had 1 or 2 guys that were doing that in their shop. So we've already had, something simple happens on the machine where it goes down for a day. And we do very well with machinery repairs where usually we can work with, their maintenance department, not have to send a tech out, and they can be back up and going in 24, 48 hours. But when something like that happens and they have a big job, they don't even remember how to do it the old way.
Oh.
So
Yeah. I just need to get my job done.
yeah, so they're like, nobody here even knows how to do it the original way we used to
Right.
4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
So
What are some of the larger shops you see in that miscellaneous metal sector? I ask that because obviously we've seen in the sheet metal and structural side some consolidation where,
yeah.
but yet I see this type of work in. I don't know if it's conducive to the same type of consolidation. So
Yeah, I would say it is a little more diverse, just because if there is ambitious younger generation, they are more, if I would say we do see a lot of small companies starting out where they used to work for a fab shop and they decide they were going to go out on their own, and even the company owned and maybe they operated or they worked very closely with our piece of machinery. And when they went out on their own, it was like their first piece of automation because they knew that they could drive growth in their company,
Right.
and make good margins with our equipment.
isn't it
So,
funny? Kind of like a feeder system for
Yeah.
like future larger fabricators in
yeah,
a way.
for sure.
Yeah,
That's
amazing.
exciting.
So
Did you think you'd be doing this for? What was it like for you coming out of school and getting involved with this? Because I don't think the world of like sheet metal and tube is very well known throughout engineering programs.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely always a little interesting explaining to other people what you do for work.
Yeah.
But
I never can.
yeah, I mean, I went to school for manufacturing engineering. What I do at EMI is kind of a cross between mechanical, as well as like application sales.
Yeah.
So I get to see kind of what customers are using, and doing with their product. But yeah, probably not exactly where I pictured myself,
Yeah.
when I graduated from college.
Sure.
But
I think that goes for a lot of people in this
yeah,
industry.
for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Where can they find out more information about EMI?
Yeah, so if you go to emiworks.com, works with an S, our website shows our 3 main machines that handle 6 and down, round tube, square tube, all those profiles, as well as our ACPC that does stair stringers and things like that.
Okay.
So
Cool.
Awesome. So thanks for joining us today, Maxwell.
yeah, it was good talking with you guys.
Okay.
Great to talk with
Appreciate it.
you.
If you have any comments or suggestions, please send them to podcast@fmamfg.org. And thank you to Landtech for sponsoring this episode. I would have said it even if Griffin and Gareth had not pointed in that direction. I'm a capable host and I can do this alone. Thank you.
I'll just get out of here then.
All right. Thank you very much. See ya.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited by Griffin Hammond and Dana Weicker. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Mike Owens, Billy Kolpa, Pat Simon, Brandon Geyer, and me, Sarah Spring. Email us at podcast@fmamfg.org. Thank you for listening.
You dream about tube?